All right, let's go, folks. Thanks again for everybody who's just tuning in. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are on the globe. We're really excited for this conversation today. Topic of the day is boosting marketing performance with downstream intent data. We have a really packed, engaging session here. All four of us have known each other for a bit, so it's going to be a really good organic conversation, which I'm sure that's what you want to that's what you're tuning in for as well, to get something real, to get something applicable to your jobs. So we're excited to get it started. A couple of housekeeping items. We're going to this session is getting recorded, so we'll definitely share this out to everyone who's registered after the webinar. And chat is separate from Q&A. If you have any questions, please put it in the Q&A module so we can make sure that we queue it up and answer it systematically. And you don't have to wait till the end to put in a question. You get something in the beginning on your mind, please feel free to pop it in and we will get to it in that order we receive it. And and yeah, just use the chat function as you're using right now, but Q&A is open as well. We can go to the next slide. Cool. So I am Harsha Kalpala. I run product marketing at TrustRadius. And I'm one of the main reasons I'm here is because I've been working with both our speakers, Alex and Emily, for a long time as well. And we have a good understanding of the business and the work that they've done. And my co-host today is Janine Crispino from 6th Sense. And now, Janine, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Great, thank you. So hi, everybody. I'm Janine Crispino. I'm the Vice President of Customer Success here at 6th Sense. Super excited to be here with you guys today so we can hear from some of our customers that are leveraging both the intent data that 6th Sense provides along with TrustRadius. So it's super exciting. For those that don't know, 6th Sense is an account engagement platform. So we surface up both third and first party intent. So your revenue teams know where your account is in the buyer's journey, and more importantly, how to engage them. This is what you guys might have heard that we called predictable revenue growth. So getting into deals before your competitors, opening net new opportunities, increasing pipeline, and hopefully closing those deals faster. So today I have the privilege of introducing Alexandra McWethy, who is the Director of Demand Gen at Watchguard, and Emily Ross, who's the Senior Demand Gen Manager at Planful. They are going to share their stories firsthand, and they just are both such amazing customers and have such a great approach to working with both of our organizations. So with that, I want to start out by letting you guys get to know these marketers a little more. So why don't you each give us a quick introduction, some background on your role, and Alex, I think we could start with you.
Awesome, thanks Janine. Hi everyone, like we said, I'm Alex McWethy. I'm the Director of Demand Gen Programs at Watchguard, and I'm really excited to be here today. I posted on LinkedIn, but TrustRadius and 6th Sense are two of my favorite vendors to work with. And so getting to talk about both of the tools together is a real treat for me. Watchguard's been a TrustRadius customer since about 2018. And then we rolled out 6th Sense towards the end of 2019. And so we've just been trying to figure out how to leverage this intent data, bring it in to our teams, make it usable and actionable by our sales team. And so I'm really excited to talk about intent data and the dark funnel and kind of how we use both of these tools to not only collect information about our accounts and our prospects, but make it actionable and usable by our sales and marketing team. So thanks for having me. And I guess I'll pass it over to Emily.
Thanks, Alex. Hi, everyone. My name's Emily Ross, and I'm a Senior Manager of Demand Gen over at Planful. Planful is an FP&A cloud platform provider. So we're thinking about our targeted audience being a bunch of finance and accounting executives. So I believe we signed with 6th Sense back in 2019 and then TrustRadius more recently, but I joined Planful about a year and a half ago. So over the past year, I've been working on building up our demand generation strategy. And for anyone out there who supports a small and mighty demand gen team, I can relate. So I've been focused heavily on paid digital, webinar strategy, content strategy support for demand gen. So partnering with TrustRadius and with 6th Sense, we've been really trying to nail the middle funnel story and how we support target accounts and accounts that we may not know about that we want to approach with the right content in the right moment.
Awesome. Thank you for those introductions. And, I'm realizing as I'm hearing the speakers talk that some of you may not be familiar with Trust Radius either. Trust Radius is a leading B2B software review platform. This is where serious buyers go to do their research to make important buying decisions. So that kind of leads to our topic. This is a partnership between Trust Radius and 6sense that both Alex and Emily have been working with. And the reason why it's important to think about that is because, this is the reality of the world we live in today. And y'all probably will kind of resonate with this as well, that, we are now sort of, this is the reality of the modern world that we live in, right? Buyers just don't listen to marketers and salespeople anymore at large. And they simply want to do their own research. About 57%, as the stat says, the buyers of buyers make up their own minds before they even come talk to you, and if they ever do, right? So because almost half the buyers never speak with a sales rep in a buying group. So this is something that we talk about a lot on the Trust Radius side, and how we exist to kind of bridge that gap to helping buyers and vendors kind of connect with each other. And Janine, this is one of the reasons why we have such a strong partnership. And you guys at 6sense have a similar lens for this as well, something maybe you can help us understand.
Yeah, of course. So to your point, intent data is so important today. Customers and prospects, they're not making themselves known. How many of us have done research for a product or a solution, and you're not raising your hand, you're not filling out a form, you're not even answering a call, even if you're interested, because you want to do your own analysis. So what 6sense does, as you guys heard me say earlier, we're bubbling up that third-party intent. We call it our dark funnel. So you may hear us say we light up that dark funnel to let that intent and that engagement become known, so that marketers and sales reps and anybody in any revenue generating org knows when to engage. And again, what are they looking at and why, and how can you engage with them in a more thoughtful manner? So where I was so excited for our partnership and hearing, of course, from Watchguard and Planful is how they're overlaying the 6sense data, first and third party intent, with the second party intent that Trust Radius provides. So, I was reading stats, and we've been doing our own homework on Trust Radius. And I think the stat, and I don't know if you have this on the slide, so I'm sorry if I'm stealing your thunder, is that some prospects and customers spend upwards of 12 minutes on Trust Radius reviewing products and solutions. 12 minutes is a lot of time, and I would want to know if my prospects or my customers were reviewing something. So I'm just so excited to hear how the team has been overlaying that today, because I think it does take both solutions up a notch, so you get more of a holistic approach, and you know how to really talk to your customers and your prospects.
And on that note, Alex and Emily, do you guys, so this is something that we're talking about, right? How do you guys feel it on your front as a practitioner?
Yeah, I mean, I think for us, like you guys said, it's the buyers don't necessarily want to pick up the phone. They don't want to answer an email until they're ready to do it. And so for us, being able to use tools like 6sense and Trust Radius and leverage that intent data, that really indicates to us that these accounts are people that are ready to have the conversation with us. It just makes it so much more successful for sales and marketing. We're able to have better, more targeted conversations, right? Watchguard's a portfolio company, so we have 4 different cybersecurity platforms. And before having the intent data, sometimes it's picking up the phone and saying, okay, here's our products. What do you want to talk about? Whereas now we have the data, we know what products they're reviewing or doing product comparisons on Trust Radius. We know what keywords they're searching on 6sense, right? We're really able to know what conversation to have with our end user customers and our partners, which just makes our marketing more effective, our sales team more effective, and just really leads to kind of those better conversations.
And kind of echoing that, when we think about the dark funnel at Planful, something we talk about all the time is there are so many deals happening in our space in a year, and we know we're a part of a certain percentage of those. But how do we get in the deals that are happening that we don't know about, that perhaps we were considered, or maybe those accounts did not know about our services? How do we expand that net? So thinking about intent data and how we empower our sales team with the ability of targeting those new accounts in the right span of time that's perfect for them is huge for us.
And to not do it in like a pushy way, right? Like to use the marketing and the sales engine together to break into those accounts that don't know your company. I think that's really the magic, right? Because we can all cold
Totally.
call, right? But doing it in a way that makes it feel organic, where we're getting into those accounts that aren't familiar with us. I think that's a really good point, Emily.
Awesome. Well, at this point, we'd love to hear from the audience as well. If you go to the next slide, we have a couple of quick questions on a poll. We'd love to hear from you guys on what you think about it. So you can take a quick second and answer it. That'd be awesome.
Cue the poll.
This is when we need the music.
Yeah.
That's what we're missing.
Yeah.
Can you guys see it yet or no?
Yeah, the poll's up. We
Okay.
have people really tuning in. Appreciate everyone's responses. It shows up as another window, Janine. Maybe it shows up on a different screen for you.
I have multiple screens, everybody. I have like 3 going. I'm like, where's the poll? Here it is.
Ten more seconds. We got really good participation here to show you guys.
Jose, look, do you have other screens? That was my issue.
All right, we hit a minute. Maybe we can end this poll and share it back. All right. How can I put this up on the screen? Maybe I can just read it out while we figure that out. So a couple of questions. Do you currently use intent data in your marketing strategy? And we have over 50 people responded. That's over half the participants. So thank you. And the answer to that is majority yes. 69% people said yes, you're using intent data in your strategy. 22% say they're working on it, and 10% are not using it yet. Which is really good to hear. This is definitely a hot topic these days when every other marketer are working with the same tool set, and intent is relatively new kind of tool to that kit for you to use in different ways. And a lot of people still are figuring out how to make those puzzle pieces work together. And the second question is, if yes, what type of intent data do you use? 61% said they use, and there's a multiple choice question, they use third-party topic search intent and also keyword search intent, which is third-party. And half people use direct interest, hand raisers, first party, and 65% use intent data from review sites, which is awesome to hear. So, and 14% use something else. This is really good. People, what it's telling us is that there's a lot of familiarity in this group with intent data, but there's also some room to kind of understand the different aspects and how to use it in our strategy. Perfect. Glad you're here to talk about it. So let's go to the next slide. Great. So you heard Janine just mention first, second, and third party intent earlier. And just a real quick primer to understand the difference between those. First party, as you may know, is hand raisers, right? People that are interested in your business and they want to talk to you. And this is the best form of intent data. Can't go wrong with it, but usually the challenge there is volume. And you don't, like we talked about, there is a dark funnel, there's people that are making decisions without talking to you. So there's that big chunk that is uncaptured. And third party, I want to jump there real quick, is what you're also very familiar with. These are topic research signals that are very helpful to get people to get you to think about how to get into deals early, how to make sure people are people that are in market or starting to get in market are getting captured. Examples are keyword search, branded search. Bombora is a source that 6 Sense partners with. That is also a good resource there. Now, second party is a term that many may not be familiar with. It's essentially somebody else's first party data, right? So Trust Radius, for example, we get all this direct traffic of buyers looking to evaluate tools, and that's our first party. And since somebody else uses that data, it becomes second party data. And this kind of data leans more mid to bottom funnel, which we're going to dig into in the next slide. So a lot of those folks coming, that is second party intent data that's coming to review sites, that's our topic today, focus, are folks that are solution aware, right? At least solution aware where they don't just know that they have a problem, to solve and they're looking for topics to learn more about the problem, that they know that there are solutions to softwares or tools to solve that, and they're starting to dig into it. Product aware folks that may know of your product and they still need to learn more and figure it out. So these two buckets in an awareness kind of stage for any prospect is where you'll find most of the audience that Trust Radius intent data kicks out into 6 Sense to use.
Yeah,
So,
and I would just add,
yeah, go ahead.
sorry,
Alex.
I was just gonna say, I think for us, we've really seen that. So when we started taking the intent data from Trust Radius and working with 6 Sense and trying to, pull it into our systems, we saw that, we expected that to be late stage. Our expectation is that our accounts that are going to review sites are really towards that decision, late stage consideration, really moving towards the end of their in-market stage. And when we took that data and married it with what we have in 6 Sense and our model, we saw that, right? We were able to see that the majority of those accounts that we had intent data from Trust Radius, when we layered our 6 Sense in-market score and our models there, we absolutely saw that they were in those consideration, decision, moving towards purchase phase, which is great for us, right? Again, like you said at the beginning, buyers don't want to talk to us all of the time. They want to talk to us when they get towards those later stages. And so it was a good thing that what we expected is what we got, and really having that later stage intent data helps us to action it and bubble that up for our sales teams.
Yeah, I will say I love this slide so much because these 4 categories are how we think about every campaign that we construct now. Like, we've recently launched a campaign that's fully rooted in the problem aware. So we're targeting folks kind of from an awareness level, like pain solution. Here are all your challenges, and here's how Planful can help solve for those problems. But when we think about solution aware and product aware, that's where things get more challenging. And I think you have to get more strategic with intent. Like you said, Alex, folks don't want to be engaged with all the time. You have to find the right moment. And so that's something that has been so fun and challenging to explore, and also the most rewarding, I think, when you really nail that middle funnel.
Yeah, absolutely. And, that combination of first, second, and third party, these are, like, I mentioned earlier, are really, it's a puzzle to figure out intent, because there's a lot of pieces to it. There's a lot of aspects of a buying journey. We know now that the buying journey is not linear. So putting together those pieces in one platform, in 6 Sense platform, is what makes this partnership so makes sense so much, because 6 Sense has been great about giving you those different aspects and flavors of third-party intent and help you capture your own first-party intent and start to connect those dots. Now, putting that second-party intent from Trust Radius makes it really help folks like Emily and Alex make the puzzle work for them, right? Not work the puzzle themselves.
Yeah, and I always say, I want to know everything, right? Like, I want to know if they are researching competitors, because then I know how to tailor my conversation, right? I'm not going to call out, hey, so you were looking at so-and-so, but I know then when I'm speaking to a customer or prospect to highlight a differentiator that I know we have over them. And the more granular I can get, then I can kind of pull up those different levers to know how to have my conversation. And to Emily's point, I feel like a lot of times we speak to customers and they are maybe new on their ABX, ABM journey, and they see the funnel and they get excited and they don't know where to start. They think, hey, we don't have enough content for this. But I think when you kind of drill it down to these stages, it's so clear, because it's awareness, like just let them know about your brand, versus when it's more bottom of funnel, you know exactly how to target them from a sales perspective to get in there. So I think just taking like a wider lens on it helps folks, whether they're new or they're veterans in the journey, kind of understand like what content to layer in and how to make it very personable to the customer, because that's what they want. They want that personalization and that experience, and to know that you're listening, or not really listening, but just know what's going on.
Absolutely. So in the next slide, we can talk a little bit more about the integration. So some detail that might help the audience understand how, like, what is the brass tacks of this. So the integration between 6 Sense and Trust Radius gets Trust Radius intent data in 3 different ways in the 6 Sense platform. There's 3 filters you can add to create segments. One of them is a category intent filter. Essentially, you are looking at any buyer at the account level who researched your category or researched other products in your category. It could be including yours, or just could be your competitors as well. This is one of those things where Emily mentioned at the beginning, it'd be great to get insight on where you're not being considered in deals and how to, get in front of that audience with a different message to take you from sort of a target audience to an aware audience, get in front of them, play the long game so you can kind of graduate them to down the funnel a bit more. Product intent is more specific to people that are going deep into your product. They're looking at reviews, they're looking at pricing and different aspects of it, and they're really getting deep versus wide on their research, and that's a different playbook for you to then interact with that kind of an account set. And product comparison intent, this is really interesting, something we developed in partnership with 6 Sense from a product level. This is people that are just comparing your product with alternatives. So this is a very kind of competitive play. When you know this audience, you're clearly in the running. How do you win? So competitive takeout plays would be really interesting here. And this data we made available for all 6 Sense customers at no cost. And that we're already seeing a really good traction. A lot of customers are activating this, using the data, and starting to see what they can do with it.
Yeah, so why don't we ask a quick question? So I know this is pretty newish, not new, but newish. And both of you have been working through it in terms of the integrations. And I saw there actually was a question in the chat on the integrations. So why don't you all let us know a little bit about, how you got set up, like how you kind of updated your workflows and what that process looked like. And Harsha, if there's anything else in the chat, I'll look for it, but that's one of the questions I saw. So who wants to go first, Emily or Alex? I never know who to call on.
Emily can go first.
Okay.
So what I will say, our workflow prior to the integration, first off, I think this is amazing. You can do this to begin with. We were crafting Salesforce reports and incorporating our custom fields with intent data from Trust Radius, and then manually uploading those to 6 Sense and crafting a segment. With those segments, we then mapped those to the campaign tracks that we built. And I'll dig into that more with our case. But with the integration, the time savings have been incredible, because now we have segments that you can build in. I think I made one the other day in 2 minutes. And not only can you plug and play different filters and fields, like you can automatically adjust. Those adjustments will automatically flow into campaigns. So super excited about that. It's just a huge uplift in terms of time savings and scope.
Yeah, same for us. And I think the other, like Emily had mentioned, you can layer other filters on top of it. And so for us, being able to, automate and not have to manually import the list from Trust Radius into 6 Sense or from Salesforce into 6 Sense, that saves us a ton of time, but it also allows us to get even more granular. So like I mentioned, we're a portfolio company, so we have a lot of different products. And so seeing accounts, visiting different product pages within Trust Radius, actually layering on things like website visits or keyword searches, that just gives us another look down. I saw a question about actioning this to sales in the chat, and this 100% enables that for us. So one of the great things with 6 Sense is being able to leverage the orchestrations and create segments and reports in Salesforce. And so before, manually we would go through, I could take the Trust Radius data, and for our matched accounts or our named accounts, I could show that to my sales team, but unmatched accounts, they were like, ooh, Alex, I don't really know. This is a lot. Like, I don't know what to do with this. Whereas now we can set up alerts, we can, build the orchestration so that there's just custom reports. They can see accounts as they move in and out of the Trust Radius intent segments. All of that happens dynamically. So it saves us a lot of time. It gives sales just one place to go, one place to look. And then it lets us action those unmatched accounts, right? People we don't know, like we've been saying, where I can't necessarily pull that into Salesforce. I can just build an alert through 6 Sense, and it sends in someone in sales an email that says, hey, this account's comparing Watchguard and so-and-so, go talk to them. It makes everything faster, more actionable, and definitely, like Emily said, saves a ton of time, which we all need back in our lives.
I absolutely love how many different types of alerts you can create with 6 Sense. So there's Slack, there's email, and then other manual ways. Salesforce reports, of course. Alex, which ones do you think are the most popular among your team? Or is it teach their own, choose your own adventure?
Yes. So I think for us, we've got dashboards all about 6 cents for our sales team in Salesforce. So that's been really successful for us. I just spent like the last month doing trainings and refresh, but my sales team loves the email alerts. Like for them, they're very email based. And so just like getting that in their inbox, they do it at their time. I add in my FMM so they can, my field marketing team, so they can follow up with their sales reps. It's been cool. That's been one of our favorites. What about you guys? You guys using the Slack alerts?
We have used email. I think the majority of the team are looking at our Salesforce reports, and we have been like, I'm really excited about 6QA. She can dig into it. But one thing I want to try that we haven't yet is Slack, because we culturally we're always on Slack. And so the idea of our reps or SDR team setting up a channel with themselves where they just get these real-time updates, they can mute it if they, just check it once at the beginning or end of the day. I just think that would be really cool for our team. So to be determined.
Yeah. Well, keep me posted. I want to hear more.
Yeah.
We use alerts, obviously. We use 6 cents, and we use Slack. Like we live and breathe in Slack. And the Slack alerts are really cool, or any kind of alert, because as you guys know, you can obviously assign it to the account owner, but you also can assign like a larger team. So like I even have like managers on my team that they like tag me in, so I get it. And to your point, Emily, I can totally mute it, but it's so convenient, and I can't help it sometimes. I'm like, hey, did you see they're on this blog? Or hey, they were looking at our Trust Radius webinar, and we then know what they're interested in and how we can, better. It's just ease of use, right? That's what we all want. We want everything easy. I mean, I don't blame us.
There's a quick question about, when you talk about visitors, are they at the account level or contact level? I mean, the quick answer is it is at the account level, but do you guys have any tips on then how to translate that into contact level to execute on?
So, I mean, I can just kind of share how we do it. We've got a pretty big database. So a lot of the accounts we do end up having some type of contact for in the system. I know my SDR, my BDR team leads on this call, and so she would say the same thing, but we also use like LinkedIn, there's contact purchases through 6 cents. So there's a variety of tools we use. The conversation we've had with our sales organization is, we're doing our best to tell you what the account, what they want to talk about, the conversation they want to have, finding the right person, right? That's something that we can work on together, but that's really kind of how we bring the two sides together, right? Is we're working at the account level, we're getting that visibility. I would say, 60% of the time, we've got at least one contact that we can reach out to. Watchguard also sells exclusively through the channel. So we also have a whole network of our reseller partners that we can work with in that way as well. So that's another way that we kind of find the right person.
And then adding to that, so we use LinkedIn, Zoom Info, Drift Prospector is a good one. And then the iframe within Salesforce gives folks a lot of intel on who specifically is perusing.
Awesome. So in the next slide, we're going to start talking about let's start with Emily at Planful. Emily, can you maybe walk us through quickly your experience so far? I know the integration is fairly new, but like we mentioned, both of you have been using Trust Radius intent data in 6 cents for a while. So maybe help us quickly understand your experience so far and the results you saw.
Yeah, so I know I mentioned our pain aware campaign that we launched, and as an extension of that, as we've ramped ABM in my time at the company, we've been wanting to get more strategic with how we craft and execute on ABM campaigns. So we have two core business segments that are super high priority for us. And historically, our campaigns in 6 cents have been pretty generic, pretty awareness driven. I mean, primarily because that was what we were hyper focused on. So when we started working with Trust Radius, we wanted to drive segmentation according to account buying phase, content type. We have a really strong repository of legacy content, but hadn't been super strategic on how we're aligning the buying phase with the offer. So the goal of this project was to level up account engagement, smarter segmentation, and think about creatively what the continuity of a campaign looks like from end to end for these two segments. So if we go to the next slide, I can show you a preview of kind of what we put together. And this is a good example of one of the middle of funnel ads that we crafted. As you can see, we've got our trust radius badge. We have social proof. So that's a real quote from a review on our profile. But truly, we came up with a three-pronged strategy. So we have ads that are positioned for consideration, decision, and purchase. And this is in one of those flows, but we're also running ads that offer key content that's performing. We're also running ads that point to contact us or get a demo, and a combination of landing pages like the example you see here with our trust radius reviews embedded, as well as things like on-demand webinars, ebooks, and other assets. And it has been really successful. So we can go to the next slide and I can show you the results so far. And over 15% of our accounts in these tracks increase their buying stage. So we have segment 1 accounts, a 56% increase, segment 2, a combination of increases in their stage, and a huge amount of engagement. One KPI that, Alex, I'm so glad you brought to my attention is the view through rate. And when I think more and more about our target audience, so we're working with C-suite level executives in finance and accounting. They're whip smart, they're super busy. The majority probably wouldn't click through an ad, but when we think about our view through rate, 2 times the number of people who are seeing these ads in these carefully crafted campaign tracks were more likely to land on our site than if we were positioning ads just for our target account list. So that was a really exciting finding for us. And we're excited to grow and layer on top of this effort.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that story, Emily. It's really insightful. I mean, I know I've been through it with you in that journey, but just recapping all this makes me really excited about it as well. And what's to come in the future, because this is really the start of your engagement on using these two tools together.
Totally.
And I think too, Emily, like one of the great things that you mentioned, and we talked a little bit about this earlier, is just being so strategic in your content and using the data to like really target that audience. And I think that's really important, right? Like we've all got different size marketing organizations, but there's content that we get excited about or that we want to push, but like really thinking through, if my buyer's in this part of their journey, like what do they want to do? Do they want to fill out a form?
Totally.
Do they want to watch a webinar? Like what's important to them? And so I love hearing like how you guys really thought through that and created these like strategic targets for your accounts and really thinking through that content experience.
It's really easier said than done, because when you think about the content, you're like, is the landing page up to date? Is the messaging matching our current strategy? What's the creative look like? And is the creative consistent across all those phases too? Like, are you telling the same story? So
100%.
it's definitely, yeah, baby steps, but the rewards are there for sure.
Awesome. So maybe we can move on to Alex's story, because Alex, in different industry, different set of products. You have more than one product that you're working with, and you have a few others that you're looking to consider using this strategy as well. But maybe help us understand your experience with the multi-product strategy.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Watchguard, we really started our journey into AVX again in 2019 when we added 6 Sense to our MarTech stack. And we'd been working with Trust Radius on our network security product line. And since then, I think in 2018, we added our multi-factor authentication product line. In 2020, we added endpoint, and we just added that profile for us in Trust Radius this year. And so again, it's really challenging for us because someone visiting our website or doing research there, that's great information to have, but really trying to understand what product line or what's important to them, that was kind of the core of what we were trying to solve for. And so, working with Trust Radius and 6 Sense to take all of that intent data and really help us move those accounts down the buying stage, right? How do we get an account from awareness to the point where they're ready to have that conversation with sales? And then how do we ensure a really successful handoff process? And the other thing that we mentioned here is upsell, cross-sell. WatchGuard's been around for, I think, 25 years. I think it's our 25-year anniversary. And so we've got a lot of customers who only know us as a firewall company. And we're so much more than that. And we've got a full, robust portfolio. And so how do we identify, even within our existing customer base or our existing partner base, accounts that are looking for some of the other products in our portfolio? And so those are just some of the ways that we really wanted to use the Trust Radius intent data and, you know, our tools and our engines in 6sense. And so I think our next slide covers just one of the campaigns that we've run. So we had a campaign for our firewall product line and a campaign for our multi-factor authentication product. And we were really targeting our mid to lower stage accounts moving to, you know, from consideration into decision purchase, and really trying to get them to engage with our trial experience or our demo experience, right? Get them into the product, because we know that they're later stage, and, you know, our buyer's journey tells us that they'll be ready to kind of take that step of engagement. One of the other things that I love from our creative team is we know that these accounts are coming from Trust Radius. They're using Trust Radius, they're using that platform. So let's use that to our advantage. So you can see here, we used our top rated badge. We used some quotes from some of our Trust Radius reviews, and we saw really great results. I think the next slide covers that. So we had, you know, talking about buying stage, we had 14% of our accounts, I think it was in maybe a month, 2-month period, move a buying stage, move up in a buying stage. So you can see the biggest block that we had was a 30% increase in consideration. So that's great for us, because those are the accounts that we're getting primed to talk to our sales team. And for us, you know, we were able to have a huge increase in reached accounts, a huge increase, you know, a 500% increase in engaged accounts. And just looking at our ad campaigns, like we were just talking about with targeted messaging, targeting content, our CTR for our campaigns were, our account CTR was, you know, almost 14%, and really high VTRs for both campaigns. And you guys are all marketing, you do digital marketing. Those are great results for us. And like Emily said, VTR is big, because those are accounts that might not click your ad, but they're coming to your website, they're doing more research, they're getting that information that they need. And so that's huge for us to be able to get that data, have that insight, and then really, you know, push that out. And the one thing we haven't talked about yet is money.
Yeah.
But what we really love about 6sense and the platform is, you know, we're not the biggest vendor in our space, and we're able to have really good results and reach really powerful accounts without spending an arm and a leg. So you can see here, like just with our campaign, we were able to reach almost 200 accounts, and we only spent $700. Like it's not hard for me to go and make the case as to why that's a good program for us to run. So it's just a really powerful outcome for us, and just a great way for us to kind of bring these two tools together and create really targeted messaging.
Awesome. And Alex, you know, in the previous slide, it said, you know, you had over 200 reviews between your products, just these two products, not counting the other ones.
Yes.
Can you, and these are not just like, you know, quick reviews, right? They're on average 400 words, a lot of different aspects of it. Can you talk about what role that content, you mentioned content before being really important, played in not just like ads and quotes, but sales enablement and marketing activities? Can you talk about that a bit more?
Yeah, we've got on our digital demand gen team, our lifecycle marketing manager. She's so focused right now on running these programs, getting these reviews. And so for us, being able to have those quality reviews from our customers and partners, which is Trust Radius is one of the few review sites that allows us to get reviews from partners and doesn't ding us. So for us to get those reviews, it's really powerful. And we use that information, we use that content in so many places. We use it in ads, we use it on social media. My SDR team is starting to use that in their outreach sequences, right? So like really pulling in that data when you know what an account is looking at, and especially if you know that they've visited Trust Radius, it just automatically creates that level of trust, right? I'm saying something to you from a place that you trust me now also. So it's been really impactful for us. And so we've had a lot of focus and the team working on that program's done an amazing job of just impacting our review number, keeping our score high, keeping our review count, you know, recent and relevant. It's been a really great effort.
Yeah, and a key point to note is that without reviews, there is no intent. right? Like reviews is what drives intent, because these are people going and reading your stuff, comparing your content with competitors. You know, if it's not your reviews, it's just somebody else's reviews in your category. So driving that reviews gives you the core of what intent signals are. And having that content and context is what makes, you know, gives you those tools as marketers to kind of go finish the next step on it and start to engage people in their, you know, in the words of their own peers. This is not marketing language. This is their language.
100%.
I love that you mentioned it. If I'm remembering right, I think we have a review campaign that we're working on that might launch today. So it is all cyclical, and shout out to the customer marketing team at Planful. It's exciting to see that come full circle.
Awesome. And maybe Janine, like, you've worked with customers besides these two folks, you work with other customers too. And one of the things that was brought up earlier is combining Trust Radius intent filters with other types of filters that were historically available. You mentioned 6QA. There's a few others on 6sense that are really powerful that you can then test and combine and be really savvy about how you can kind of whatever works for your audience. Maybe you can help us talk about.
Yeah, for sure. So I would say a lot of the power behind 6sense, of course, is our ability to have dynamic segments, right? So there's a couple of different ways within the platform, and please, like, obviously ask questions in the chat, but if you are a customer or not, reach out to me or your CSM. But what you can easily do is build segments using different filters that we have, whether it's based on if there's researching a certain keyword. I saw someone in the chat asked about products, and you could have branded keywords that are specific to that. If they're on your site, or more importantly, if they're not on your site in the last 30 days and you're engaging. And to Hirsch's point, he loves when I say 6QA. So are they a 6sense qualified account? That's what we call it. So a lot of you guys might be used to MQLs. We do not speak about MQLs at 6sense since we're account level, but we call it 6QA. And what that means is that they're further along in the funnel. So they're in what we call our purchase and decision stage. And we want to surface them up to sales. So now what you can do is build a segment that includes that filter and layer in Trust Radius's data to get more granular. Not only to get more granular, but to Emily's point, maybe you have a different campaign for somebody that isn't 6QA. So it would normally be one segment, but now that you know that they're researching one product or solution versus the other, you want to talk to them about something. I have I'm customer success, so I'm not in sales, but I have customers that I worry about what's next, what do they need? Are they in renewal? And I want to make sure that if a customer sometimes tells me like, we're good, like we have no more questions about that functionality, we're okay. But if I see that they're comparing our product down the line, still, I know, hey, I have to answer some more questions. I need to give them some thought leadership. I need to basically take them along this journey with me. So this is all available right within the 6sense platform. For those of you on the line that are customers, your CSM can turn this on for you right away. One of the filters that Harsha brought up that is available. If you're a joint customer, you get all three of the filters, and they're right in the platform. And I think it was both Emily and Alex talking to the ease of use. And what I normally do, because I love to play around with some data, is I'll build some segments and then I will overlay it and I'll see what does my segment look like now. And it's super easy. You could do it on the fly, save it, delete it, whatever you want. But it helps you build out your own plan and your structure for how to build your customer or your prospect life cycle. So again, this is a newish partnership, but we do have a ton of documentation on best practices, how to enable some of those segments. But again, like, you guys can reach out to my team and the rest of the folks, and we'll hopefully help lead you on your journey so you can look at some of this awesome product second party intent.
And one of the ways that we're looking at, like you guys said, it's new. One of the things that we're looking at, I think Emily mentioned this too, is accounts that are researching us or comparing us on Trust Radius, but haven't been to our website. So that's a big indicator for us, right? They're late stage, they're doing that intent research, they're looking at us, they're doing comparisons, but they haven't been to our website. So how can I take that information and either run a campaign to it or get that to my sales team so that they can action it, right? Ultimately, I want to get them to my website. So how do I do that and how do I drive that? I think there's endless possibilities of how we can layer all of the data in, but that's one that I'm really excited to kind of see how we can put that into play.
There was another one I also loved, and it's almost the inverse. Like maybe someone visited your site in the last 30 days, but they didn't convert on a form fill. So how do you nudge them in the right direction? Yeah, I agree. Endless.
Yeah, and you guys hear us talk about it all the time at 6 Cents. And if anybody knows Latney, she doesn't believe in a form fill. Like she does not believe in gating content, because if you're gating your content, they might go to a competitor site that is not gated. So at least it's getting in front of, so at least it's getting in front of them to then know from a marketing perspective, to Emily's point, do you want to get them to your site? Where do you want to navigate them to? It's kind of helping them along their journey. Like you were here, but now we really want you to go over here and serving up whatever content that looks like, whether it's a display campaign, a LinkedIn ad, a drip program, whatever it is that you guys are running, and then overlaying that with the Trust Radius content, which again, I feel like my mind was blown when I read that people are on these sites, Trust Radius specifically, for 12 minutes. Like that's a lot of time. I know that sounds crazy, but we're all so busy. So if they're looking at something for 12 minutes, I want to know what they're looking at. Like I want to know what's so important. And I'm sure sales and marketing wants to know that too.
Yeah, and this site is not called Facebook, right? Like that's the only other site I can think of that we're on for such a long time in 2021. Cool. So this is really great discussion. So in the next slide, what I want to wrap up, and we're getting close on time, is that just the outcomes for both of you. And Alex, I just pulled this up. You posted something on LinkedIn about the webinar asking people to sign up. And Sean, one of your sales team leaders, commented on here. Can you talk? I thought that'll be a good context for us to talk about what has this using this tool done for you as a marketer, especially in relationship with your sales team.
Yeah, absolutely. Sean is a great, advocate of marketing within the sales org. So I'm not surprised. I'm sure he'll be really excited he got a shout out on our webinar. But, for me, the way that I look at this, my role, I manage our demand gen team and our business development team. And so everything we do is really empowering our sales engine and our pipeline development. And so I think 6 Cents talks a lot about this revenue engine. And I just love the idea of marketing really empowering our sales organization. And so I want to be the marketing person that salespeople go to, right? I want to be the one that when I call them and I say, hey, I've got something for you to try, or I want you to test this out for me. They're not like, oh, Alex again, right? I mean, sometimes they do that anyway, but I really want to have that strong relationship. And so for us, tools like Trust Radius and 6 Cents, if we can take that data and the intent information and make it actionable for our sales team and align it to the goals that they're already trying to achieve, they'll pick up my call when I ask for something, right? Because I'm helping them with their business. I'm helping them, close that deal, have that conversation that they need to have. And so the two tools together are just really powerful for us to really take all of this intent data and action it for sales in the right way and at the right time. And so that's kind of been my journey these last couple of months. I think I've talked to our entire global sales team in the past month. But they're excited about it, right? It's a conversation that I can have with them that directly aligns to their KPIs. And so they're excited to have that talk. And so we're really excited to keep pushing these tools together, using them in different ways to just, help our team hit their numbers and help the company be successful in that way.
And Alex, you won a Friend of Sales award recently, didn't you?
Very excited. That was this year's SKO. And I owe a lot of it to my 6 Cents cred, helping the team find that information. But that's what I think as marketers, that's what we all want, right? We want to be the friend of sales. We want to help them be impactful. It's not just, giving them a to-do list and a checklist. Being their friend helps us be successful, helps them be successful, and really helps the overall organization be successful. So yes, I have it on my desk somewhere. Very excited.
You don't know where it is because you rearranged your desk.
Rearranged my desk. And I have no idea where it is.
Hey, Emily, so what's that version for you? How did it up-level the way you work?
Oh man, I totally agree with everything Alex just said. For us, I think what I think is so interesting about supporting B2B businesses is like you put so much thought and effort into the tech stack that you're building, and you put so much time into choosing the right ones. And so taking it a next step further and thinking about how these different tools work harmoniously together and how we can use the tools we've invested in the most effective way. I really think that's the next level for us and probably for ABM and for intent strategy. And so that is what gets me really excited about working on demand gen campaigns when you feel like you're making the most of what you have so thoughtfully curated.
That's awesome. We love hearing that. Yeah, so our team has been answering questions on text. Thank you all for asking some really awesome questions. There's a couple outstanding ones. One, Emily, is for you. How did you define what fell under your intent definition to target for this audience segment for your ICP?
Oh, that's a great question. So we have internally both a buyer's journey, and we also have an ICP, and we partner really closely with our partner product marketing team on identifying who our target buyer is. And so we have about 7 different titles. And then in ICP, we have those core segments. So typically it's revenue band, so a certain size of company that we're going after. So putting all of those 3 together, we come up with sort of an ICP or a target group that we can go after. And then within those phases, we sort of map those specifications with the phases in 6 Sense. I hope that answers your question.
Solid, thank you. Alex, is there anything unique or different about the delivery of the intent data to sales, or was it the current alerts and dash?
Yeah, so our current dashboard is right now it's using data from 6 Sense. So it's using things like keyword research. Are they researching competitors? One of my favorites is like open renewals, where we've got competitive keyword research, right? I want my sales team to know about those and to have those conversations. The Trust Radius integrations recently added for us, so we're working on building that segmentation, but the goal would be to take the Trust Radius data and just add it into that dashboard that our sales teams are already going to. So, accounts with open opportunities, doing comparisons on Trust Radius or something like that. And 6 Sense makes it really easy to build that segmentation and just sync it into Salesforce, and then create a report that looks for segment containing account and that specific segment name. And it's really easy to drop that into a dashboard or a report. So more to come on how we bring the Trust Radius data into there, but our goal would just to have a one-stop shop kind of dashboard for our team to use.
Awesome, thank you. And there's a question about if there's any best practice segment filters documentation that you could use. There's some really good ideas that were mentioned today by Janine, Emily, and Alex. Besides those, we're kind of developing these as we go, as we see how people practice. It's not theoretical. There's some theory, but we want to test it and share what's practical and what other people are using. So if you're a customer of 6 Sense or Trust Radius, just talk to your customer success manager and they will share some resources with you and some guidance. So we'll work with you on making that work for you. Great. So we're at time. So if there's any questions that have not been answered, we will make sure that we get back to you. I think all of them have been answered. I'm seeing in the window here. So thank you so much for coming. If there's any questions, reach out. There's a couple emails here, one for Trust Radius, one for 6 Sense. And we will send the recording, like I said, and don't let the conversation end here. Let's talk as you want to explore this further. And there's going to be, a brief survey right now at the end of the webinar, and really appreciate it if you stick around for 1 minute to just help us out a little bit so we can continue to make this better for you. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you, guests, for Emily and Alex and Janine for making this a really fun, engaging, organic conversation. I loved it.
Me too. Thank you.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Good chatting. I like these, ABX chats. I always like to talk ABX.
Awesome. Watch out for the survey, folks.